Welcome back to the Foundry by Forge College. I am so thrilled you're joining me for today's explainer. Now, we are shifting our mindset a bit today. In our previous lessons, especially when we were looking at observability for concurrency and batching, we were entirely focused on building and monitoring. But today we're pivoting. We are moving from just building smart contracts to vigorously interrogating them. So picture this. Your smart contract works perfectly. But is it spilling your users' darkest secrets? We've successfully wired up our Soulbound Tokens, or SBTs, and our Decentralized Identifiers. The code compiles, the transactions go through, and honestly, everything looks totally functional on the surface. But functional code doesn't guarantee your system actually behaves correctly under pressure. And crucially, it doesn't guarantee your users' privacy stays intact. Just because your code works on a sunny day doesn't mean it's going to hold up in a storm, right? Let's dive into testing your digital bouncer and validating that integration behavior. To kick off our investigation, let's introduce the primary suspect in our identity integration code, the verifier. A verifier is the on-chain smart contract that maps Soulbound Token attributes to DID claims and actually enforces access. Think of it exactly like a digital bouncer standing at the door of a super exclusive VIP club. It looks at your Soulbound Token, which is essentially your non-transferable digital ID card, and decides if you actually have the right credentials to enter, say a private DAO forum. But how do we know this bouncer is actually doing a good job? Well, that brings us to mapping and enforcement tests, where we really interrogate the access logic. Our first job as digital detectives is to make absolutely sure this bouncer is reading those IDs correctly and enforcing the rules without making any weird exceptions. Imagine account A has a valid contributor SBT. They walk up to the bouncer reads the ID, maps the attributes, and boom, access granted, VIP treatment. But then, account B tries to sneak in without an SBT. The bouncer needs to correctly identify that lack of credentials and flat out say, access denied. We have to run mapping and enforcement tests in our code to prove that a valid contributor gets in, while someone without the required SBT gets immediately rejected. We need mathematical certainty here, not just hope. But we also need what we call resilience testing. This is like handing the bouncer a fake ID, an ID with missing attributes, or maybe a cryptographic signature that expired yesterday. We're intentionally feeding the bouncer completely unexpected types of data to verify the code fails safely. The whole goal here is to ensure that if something is wrong, the code defaults to locking the doors rather than crashing and accidentally leaving the club wide open for literally anyone to wander in. Next up, plugging on-chain privacy leaks. Let's talk about the gossip problem. Okay, so your bouncer might be letting the right people in, but what if they're doing their job a little too loudly? Imagine your bouncer standing at the door shouting, "Hey, everyone, Alice's membership tier is contributor," for the whole street to hear. In Web3 terms, this happens when your smart contract shouts raw, sensitive user attributes right into the public transaction logs. Anyone scanning the blockchain can see it, and it's there forever. That is a massive on-chain privacy leak. Your users trust you with their decentralized identity, and broadcasting it is a fundamental design flaw that we absolutely have to catch. So the crucial point is, how do we fix this? To plug these leaks, we have to treat privacy checks as first-class tests, actively looking for those raw strings in our events. We have a few specific privacy mitigations we can use. We can hash attributes before storage, meaning the blockchain only ever sees a cryptographic scramble, not the raw data. We can store the highly sensitive data completely off-chain using a secure pointer, or we can emit only non-indexed events to make them much harder for third-party scanners to casually scrape. We write tests to make sure these mitigations are actually doing their job. Let's look at the DAO forum scenario, testing with Hardhat and Ethers.js. Let's look at how we practically interrogate the code in a real-world test environment using these standard, popular developer tools. Here are the concrete steps we take in our test script. Step 1, we mint a test SBT to an account with a contributor attribute. Step 2, we call the verifier contract to check access for our DAO forum. We expect this to return true. But step 3, well, that's the kicker. We inspect the event logs for raw strings. By executing these 3 concrete steps, we test the happy path of granting access, while simultaneously verifying that the raw contributor string isn't leaking into the public logs. If we search the logs and find the word contributor sitting there in plain text, our test fails and we know we have a leak. Moving on to building your debug report, or as I like to call it, filing the police report. Once the interrogation of your code is over, you can't just walk away. We need to document our findings properly by translating our testing into a structured debug report artifact.
You'll list the test case, its purpose, whether that's mapping, enforcement, or privacy, the preconditions, and the expected outcome. This debug report schema provides reproducible evidence of your tests. It clearly documents the pass and field traces, and it explicitly states the privacy trade-offs you discovered. It's not just a log file, it is literal proof of your system's integrity.
Now, let's talk about how this builds your broader skill set. As you dive into further courses and learning programs at Forge College, these debug reports become incredibly valuable. You'll transform this test evidence directly into capstone design constraints. They become the bedrock foundation for designing robust and secure Web3 capstone projects. You aren't just guessing that your code works anymore. You are building complex systems based on hard, validated, and documented evidence. Finally, let's cover the next steps for your capstone, the pre-release testing checklist. Before we wrap up today's explainer, let's establish a foolproof checklist to run before you release any identity integration into the wild. You need to run mapping tests, run enforcement tests, and meticulously run those privacy event scans. You also need to run negative and fuzz tests. And remember, fuzz testing simply means throwing completely random, unexpected, and malformed data at your smart contract to see how it reacts under chaos. And finally, archive your logs and timestamps. Following this checklist ensures you convert temporary test runs into concrete, machine-readable artifacts that prove your system is completely resilient. So I want to leave you with this. Your code enforces the rules today, but if a third party scanned your events tomorrow, would your users' data truly remain private? It is a critical question every single developer must answer. So take a hard look at your own code, ask yourself this question, and then head over to forge.college to continue your learning journey and explore more Web3 topics with us. Keep interrogating your code, stay curious, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.